So, following my original video where I state, and I will stand by this point, that your mousepad and your mouse do not affect your rank as much as other aspects such as aim training, practicing your mechanics or VOD reviewing, etc. There is still an element for those that don't necessarily have a good mouse right now, or they're getting started in the PC gaming space itself, or their G502 of 17 years of age has finally broken beyond use. So, what do you buy? That question initially seems quite easy to answer, but encourages more and more questions the deeper you delve. For instance, some questions could be, how much do you want to spend? What's the size of your hand? How do you grip your mouse? What games do you play? And there are many more that you could ask yourself to come to the conclusion of what mouse to buy. Today we're going to work on narrowing down some of those questions that you can ask and then answer yourself to help build up an idea of what you're looking for in a mouse. Let's get started with some context as to why this is actually now more difficult than ever. There has been an explosion in the amount of brands selling gaming mice across a variety of different price points, across a variety of different shapes and sizes. New brands having leapt onto the scene, with old brands having to really step up their game within the market itself. There are now multiple options within each brand, some of the smaller brands only being available on their website or places like AliExpress, whereas some of the larger manufacturers are normally available across multiple retailers like Amazon. These are normally easier to recommend to people that don't often shop on places like AliExpress. So, you know there's lots of different options, and you know there's lots of different places to get those options. That's not really helped yet. So let's start with sometimes the biggest blocker for some people, and that's price. You should most definitely set yourself a budget and stick to that. As I'm convinced, if you could spend £300 or $300 on a mouse, you potentially wouldn't get any benefit over some mice that cost 150, 100, or sometimes even 50. I personally wouldn't spend any more than £160 or $190, I think that equates to, for one single mouse. After spending that multiple times on multiple mice, and I find that's kind of the peak of what you can expect. Anything more, and you're either going to be buying something that's limited edition, something experimental, or it's just blatant extortion. That's kind of the largest filter applied, if I'm honest, for the majority of people. Unless you've said you wanted to spend like $200. In which case, one, are you insane? And two, well, you can basically get everything commercially available. That's not narrowed it down at all. So regardless of what you've stated you want to spend, we're now going to fall into the more subjective areas. And some things you might initially find difficult to answer, and it may require you to go away, figure that out, and then come back and continue watching the rest of the video. Either way, let's go. For a size of the mouse, as someone with small hands, I'm kind of really used to being catered to in the mouse market nowadays, with the majority of brands either creating a mini or small version of one of their existing models, or their first model out is actually a mini version of a mouse. So that's been ideal for me, but I'm aware that those endowed with larger digits and palms, if you're buying those sorts of mice, they can lead to serious cramping and discomfort issues, and potentially even some health issues, which I am really not keen on endorsing, so let's avoid that. Do you have a tape measure to hand, or maybe a ruler? If so, it's going to be very easy to get your hand size measurement. There is a video created by Rocket Jump Ninja which goes into great detail about how to measure your hand and then what he believes you should be looking for in the size of a mouse in comparison to your hand size. I will link that video down below, but I will very quickly summarize what that means, and it's going from the base of your palm to the very top of your tallest finger, and then from the right side of your palm or the left side of your palm to the other with your thumb tucked in. That will give you the length and width of your hand. For context, mine is 17 by 10 centimeters, so they're quite short, but pretty much an average width. If you wanted to get a really rough guesstimation, you could use something like your phone, to be honest. Because you can find the dimensions online, it becomes relatively easy to get a guess. Once you have those figures, you can kind of place yourself into one of 3 categories depending on the length. I'll display on screen a list of what those are. Okay, before we continue, something worth remembering. When you get a rough idea of what mouse you want, there are various resources online that can give you comparison tools to existing shapes you know, or new shapes that you're looking at, to give you an idea of their size compared to other shapes. A free online service that I use a lot is something called ELOShapes, which I'll link in the description below. They have 99% of gaming mice on the market, and the majority of new ones coming out, especially the ones that get hyped up, all normally get added onto the website. There are particular nuances like curves and grip widths and other aspects that lacks, but for the majority of people it displays the height, the shape and the width. For an initial understanding, it's perfect. Now on to the next stage, the shape. There is a phrase circulating throughout the mouse enthusiast community that shape is king. And that's never been more true to a degree. I will never not say that there is a shape for you that you will aim better with out of every other shape. But as I said in my first original video and earlier in this video, I am convinced that it does not make enough of a difference to your gameplay compared to other factors that it is not worth obsessing over and spending hundreds of pounds or dollars or whatever your currency is to find that shape. It is more critical to find a shape that works for you and enabling your best gameplay with it. So, what shape do you go for? Do you go for something symmetrical? Do you go for ergonomic? Are you left-handed? If so, this video becomes a lot easier because there's like 3 options out there for you. I'm sorry. Do you need something small, large, tall, flat, hump this, hump that? So what I want you to do is get your phone or a camera, something like that, place it in front of your mouse pad, load up your game of choice and run like a death match or something akin to that. Completely forget about the camera being there and just try and do your best. The idea is that you're forgetting about how you're holding your mouse. You are trying to win, and then you will do what is most comfortable for you, and that is your mouse grip. There are usually 3 main styles of mouse grip, that being palm grip, claw grip, fingertip grip. There's all sorts of stuff in between, but for the sake of this video, we're going to stick to those 3. I tend to see that if you have large hands, fingertip grip and claw grip is quite common. If you've got small hands, palm grip's quite common. And if you're somewhere in between, you're somewhere in between, normally claw grip. There are mice catered to each style of grip, and by doing a quick search, you can usually find what that looks like. If you're comfortable holding your mouse with that grip, stick with it, as long as it's not detrimental to your health. Although I'm no doctor, so I will not be giving any medical advice in this video. So we're now able to kind of filter down, hopefully, the list of mice that potentially could work for you by working out your budget, your size, and your shape. By doing that, you are 99% of the way there. Now it's time to go out there and see what fits that criteria for you. Look up some reviews of the product, make sure it lasts more than 3 days, make sure it doesn't feel absolutely terrible in the hand, and go off and play some games. As I said, there are lots more that you could answer to find out the true perfect mouse for yourself. But unless you're absolutely obsessed with Aim Labs or Kovacs, it's not going to get you out of bronze or gold. I hope this information has been useful for you today, and you've got something out of it. I'm sorry to those that were looking for specific mice to purchase in this video, but I wanted to do something that would last a bit more of the test of time. There shouldn't really be anything in this video that I hope won't be outdated in 1 to 2 years' time. If there is anything that you think I've missed out, or something you feel isn't right, let me know in the comments. I'd love to have a chat. But in the meantime, thank you so much for watching. Much love. Goodbye. Oh, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks.